What if I told you the life you're living isn't the life you were meant for, that somewhere deep inside your real life is still waiting to begin? Ladies and gentlemen, your life is your life. That may seem like a simple sentence, a short arrangement of words you've heard before in some form, some version, some melody. But I urge you, pause, breathe those words in again. Your life, not your neighbor's, not your parents', not your partner's, not society's, yours. A singular, beating thread of existence that no one else can live or breathe or mold. It is the fire beneath your ribs, the breath behind your words, the silence behind your thoughts. It is yours, and it will never happen again in the same way, with the same skin, the same pulse, the same aching beauty that only you carry. Yet how often do we surrender it? We let it be clubbed into dank submission, into silence, into shame, into mediocrity. Not because we want to, but because the world sometimes teaches us to. Because the systems and structures and routines around us become heavier than our spirit. Because failure wraps itself around our feet. Because people who've lost their own light try to blow out ours. Because somewhere along the way we begin to believe the lie that our life doesn't belong fully to us, that we must tame it, tuck it in, mute it, drown it in expectations. But I stand here to tell you, don't. Do not let your life be clubbed into submission. Don't let the world dim you. Don't let your past write your future. Don't let fear narrate your story. Because you were not born for the shadows. You were not crafted to fold. You are not the product of someone else's dream. You are your own revolution. Be on the watch. That is not just a suggestion. It is a calling, a quiet drum beating in the distance of your spirit. Be on the watch for the cracks in your despair where light slips through. Be on the watch for the small voices inside that say, try again. Be on the watch for the day your knees stop shaking and your heart starts speaking. Be on the watch for the moments when the world tries to make you forget your strength and remember it anyway. You see, we don't always wake up and know we're breaking. The collapse comes slow, like dusk. It gets darker bit by bit, and before you know it, you're walking through your days like a ghost in your own story. But if you're on the watch, you can catch it. You can catch the turning point, that flicker of refusal in your soul, that moment when your spine straightens and you whisper, no more. There are ways out. I know some of you doubt that. I know some of you feel like the walls are too high, the chains too tight, the silence too deep. But I am here to tell you there are ways out. Not always easy ones, not always fast, but they exist. Hidden in questions you haven't asked yet, in people you haven't met, in books you haven't read, in truths you've been afraid to admit, in the strength you've been told you don't have but do. There are ways out of the job that kills your spirit, out of the relationship that wounds your soul, out of the self-hatred that has grown like ivy on your bones, out of the belief that you will never be enough. There are ways out. But you must look, you must reach, you must believe, even when belief feels like a whisper, because there is a light somewhere. It may not shine through your window every day, it may not announce itself with trumpets or fanfare, but it exists somewhere, in the middle of nowhere, in the breath between sobs, in the laughter that surprises you in your lowest hour. In the mirror when you finally forgive yourself, in the apology you never thought you'd get, but give instead. It may not be much light, but beats the darkness, and that is everything, because we do not need the sun all at once. We just need a spark, a glimmer, a single match struck in the hollow night. That is how revolutions begin. Tiny flames that refuse to die. You don't have to shine for the world right now. You just have to refuse to stay dark. Even when life tries to club your spirit into the ground. Even when they call your dreams ridiculous. Even when your voice trembles and your feet are tired. Even when your hands are empty and your faith is low. Still refuse to let your life become a prison. Still seek the light. Still know there are ways out. You were not born to fade. You were born with a fire. And even if the world has tried to put it out, even if you feel like you're standing in ashes, Ashes mean something once burned, and anything that has burned can burn again, maybe stronger, maybe braver, maybe wiser. So be on the watch for yourself, not just the world. Be on the watch for when your smile stops reaching your eyes. Be on the watch for when you start saying I'm fine too easily. Be on the watch for when your passion turns into duty, when your dreams get shelved, when your truth starts to shrink. And when you see those things, fight back. Take your life back. Pull it from the dust, because it's yours. Your life is your life. And even now, even here, even with the heartbreak and the fear and the doubt, you can still choose it. You can still stand up and say, I will not be clubbed into submission. I will not give up on light. I will not let despair be the final word. I will watch, I will wait, I will burn again. So tonight, wherever you are, I ask you, don't wait for the perfect day. Don't wait until you are fearless. Don't wait until you feel ready. You don't need to roar, you just need to rise. You don't need to run, you just need to move. You don't need to win, you just need to refuse to lose who you are, because your life is your life, and this is your chance to live it. So what if I told you the life you're living right now isn't the one you were meant for? That somewhere, beneath the noise, the routine, the fear, your real life, your bold, unapologetic, fearless life is still waiting for you to choose it? What if today was the day you finally did? Ladies and gentlemen, your life is your life. This is not a metaphor, it's not a quote meant to be scribbled in a journal or posted on a wall. It is a truth, raw, urgent and powerful. And you need to hear it not just with your ears, but with every trembling, aching, doubting part of your soul. Your life is your life. That statement should rattle the walls of your existence, because we live in a world where everyone is trying to claim a piece of who you are. The world will tell you who to be, what to wear, what to believe, who to love, how to speak, when to cry, and even how to dream. But none of them, not one of them, is living your life. None of them hears the thoughts that scream in your silence. None of them carries the memories behind your smile. None of them bleeds when your heart breaks. Your life is stitched from your own thread, cut from your own cloth, sewn with your own choices. No one else has your fingerprints, and no one else can leave the mark that only you were born to leave. And yet we give it away, piece by piece, bit by bit, approval by approval. We shrink ourselves to fit into spaces that were never meant for us. We trade our fire for safety. We silence our truth for comfort. We betray ourselves in small ways until we don't even recognize our own reflection anymore. Why? Because the world taught us to. Because we were told to play nice, stay quiet, keep the peace, follow the rules. We were taught to blend in when we were born to stand out. We were trained to comply, to perform, to survive, but not to truly live. So our life, our magnificent, radiant, one-of-a-kind life becomes clubbed into dank submission. You know what that looks like. It looks like waking up with dread instead of purpose. It looks like laughing in rooms where you feel dead inside. It looks like staying in relationships where love has turned to obligation. It looks like silencing your ideas because someone once rolled their eyes when you spoke. It looks like dreams gathering dust in the attic of your mind. It looks like numbness. And numbness is a quiet kind of death. But I am not here to mourn your life. I am here to awaken it, because you are not gone. You are not lost. You are not broken beyond repair. You are simply waiting. Waiting for permission you never needed. Waiting for the right time that will never feel right. Waiting for courage, not knowing it is built, not found. Waiting for someone to say what I'm about to say to you now. Wake up. Wake up to the truth of who you are. Wake up to the voice inside that is still whispering, there is more. Wake up to the fire you have not yet learned to trust, because you have not come this far. Through pain, through loss, through chaos, just to fade now. You were not born to disappear. You were born to disrupt, to ignite, to expand. But to do that, you must first be on the watch. That's where everything changes. Be on the watch. That means look, not just with your eyes, but with your spirit. Look at your life honestly, without denial, without defense, without delusion. Where are you merely surviving? Where are you numb? Where are you pretending? Where have you traded your truth for acceptance? These are not easy questions. They will sting, but they will also awaken. Be on the watch for the moment you realize you don't need their validation. Be on the watch for when peace starts to matter more than being liked. Be on the watch for when your soul starts to scream louder than your fears, because when you begin to see, you cannot unsee. And once you see, really see, you realize something revolutionary. There are ways out of the job that suffocates you, out of the relationship that diminishes you, out of the identity you inherited but never chose, out of the shame that was planted in you like a weed and told it was truth, out of the story that told you you were not enough, out of the prison of your own limiting beliefs. Yes, there are ways out, but they are not paved with ease or comfort. They are forged in courage, in pain, in falling and rising and falling again, but they are real, and that is where the light lives. There is a light somewhere. Maybe you haven't seen it in a long time. Maybe you've forgotten how it feels. Maybe it's just a memory now, a whisper from the past, but it is there. It may be in a book that changes the way you see everything. It may be in a child's laughter that breaks your heart open. It may be in a stranger's kindness, in the way someone looks at you like you matter. It may be in the decision to finally say no. It may be in the moment you finally scream yes to yourself. It may be in a song that feels like home. It may be in silence. It may be in grief. It may be in rage, but it's there. And even if it is a flicker, a candle in a hurricane, it beats the darkness. And that, my dear friends, is enough. Because you do not need to see the whole path. You do not need to know how it all ends. You only need to see the next step. One flicker of light, one breath of courage, one act of defiance, one refusal to give up. And from there, everything changes. Because the moment you believe that your life is still yours, that it can still be redeemed, rewritten, reclaimed, you become unstoppable. No longer shackled by fear, no longer enslaved by doubt, no longer living in someone else's narrative. You become the author. And the world, your world, will start to shift. Not because it's easy, but because it's real. And real always wins. So tonight, I don't want you to promise to fix everything. I don't want you to create a 5-year plan. I want you to make one vow. To be on the watch. Be on the watch for the moments that steal your joy. Be on the watch for the whispers of your intuition. Be on the watch for the light, however faint. Be on the watch for yourself. Because your life is not just worth fighting for, it is worth living for. Radically, unapologetically, authentically, even imperfectly, especially imperfectly. Because perfect is the lie, and real is the revolution. So live even when you're scared, even when you're tired, even when you're uncertain, even when it hurts, even when no one understands, even when you don't feel ready. Especially then. Live like your life is yours, because it is. And no one can take it from you unless you hand it over. So don't hand it over. Not to fear, not to the past, not to other people's opinions, not to systems that never saw you, not to the version of yourself that forgot how to dream, because there is still time. Time to choose again, time to rise, time to begin, time to breathe, time to return to who you've always been underneath the layers of survival, time to take back your name, time to light the match, time to walk out of the darkness, even if you tremble as you go. Because it doesn't matter if you walk or crawl or stagger, it only matters that you move, and when you do, you will discover something sacred, that you never lost your life, you only stopped claiming it. So today, claim it with fear, claim it with tears, claim it with messy hands and shaky legs, claim it with your whole unedited heart, because your life is your life. And the light is waiting, not at the end of the road, but in the very next step. Take it.